Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 15. We'll be present about the Shariah auditing on the transferable letter of the credit TLC-i by RHB Bank. So this is our group members. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nuna Jahuda binti Cik Hamzah. My ministry number 1192280. Firstly, introduction. So, as we all know, the banking institution is really important to help the country economic development. Therefore, the Islamic financial institution play the same role as the banking institution. However, Islamic financial institution must free from the interest, riba, gambling, maisir, and uncertainty, gharar. So, any product or transaction that involve in this element are invalid in the IFI. So, Shariah audit were established to ensure the IFI operate based on the Shariah compliant principle.
Now, let's move to the background of RHB Islamic Bank Berhad. RHB Islamic Bank Berhad, a wholly owned subsidiary of RHB Banking Group, was licensed on March 1, 2005 and became a full-fledged Islamic bank. RHB Islamic Bank Berhad is primarily derived of RHB Bank, which is guided by the Shariah business. It is an initiative in providing and introducing a comprehensive range of Islamic compliance financial products and also solutions. The RHB Islamic Bank Berhad business operations focus on four main pillars. The first one is corporate investment banking, retail banking, business and transaction banking, and the last one is Islamic treasury. There is more than 200 branches through the states.
My name is Asna Mufida and metric number 1192283. Now let's see the type of product that RHB Islamic Bank Berhad have offered. Transferable letter of credit, TLC-i, that specifically permits the first beneficiary of TLC to make some or all of the credit available to another party, thereby creating a secondary beneficiary subject to the approval of the bank as the issuing bank to transfer it. Sellers of manufactured goods often require a letter of credit, which is a letter from a bank that guarantees a buyer payments to a seller will be received on time and for the correct amount before proceeding with a customer's order. Transferable letter of credit include provisions for transferring the extension of credit, all or part of the credit for which the buyer was approved to a secondary beneficiary. The secondary beneficiary receive right to the payment if a loan is needed at the time of payment. The letter of credit approval process is similar to the process of receiving a financing from a bank. The buyer must submit a letter of credit application, and the bank will analyze a buyer's credibility in the underwriting process. If approved, the letter of credit shows the bank is willing to issue a loan for a specific amount to the borrower if a loan is needed to cover the payment of the customer's order with the seller.
Next, we move on to the type of contract. Wakalah bil ujrah is an Islamic banking term that refers to an agency agreement where one party agrees to act as an agent on behalf of another party in exchange for a fee. This term is used in the context of transferable letter of credit I, or in short is TLC-i, by RHB, a type of Sharia compliant financial instrument that is used for facilitating international trade transactions. In the context of TLC-i, Wakalah bil ujrah refers to an agreement between the bank and the customer, where the bank acts as an agent for the customer in issuing and administering the letter of credit on behalf of the customer. The bank charges a fee for its services, which is known as the ujrah. This fee is determined based on the nature and size of the transaction and is agreed upon between the bank and the customer before the issuance of the letter of credit. The TLC-i is a transferable letter of credit, which means that the original beneficiary of the letter of credit can transfer the benefits of the letter to another party. This feature is particularly useful for international trade transactions as it allows for the goods to be sold and the payment to be received by another party other than the original beneficiary. This added flexibility provides more option for the customer and helps to mitigate risk associated with international trade transactions. The TLC-i is also structured in accordance with Shariah principles, making it a suitable option for customers who prefer Shariah-compliant financial instruments.
Next, we go to the modus operandi. As you can see, there are 7 steps in modus operandi. First, the buyer requests RHB Bank to issue an LCI in favor of seller as a guarantee for payment for goods or services. Second, RHB Bank and the buyer enter into an agreement for the LCI and RHB Bank issue the LCI to the seller. Third, the seller may transfer the LCI to the third party with a consent of RHB Bank. Fourth, the seller deliver the good or provide the service to the buyer as agreed. Fifth, the seller represent the required document to RHB Bank such as invoice and other shipping documents. Sixth, RHB Bank pay the seller or the third party as specified in the LCI. And lastly, the buyer repay RHB Bank the amount paid under the LCI plus any applicable fees or charges.
So now we move to the Shariah auditing. So there are 3 audit here, which are audit objective, audit criteria, and audit procedure. For the first one, audit objective here is to ensure the both parties, which is RHB Bank and the customer, enter into the right agreement, which is Wakalah Bil Ujrah. For the audit criteria, we have 2 here, which are the agreement of the contract and the BNM Wakalah perimeter. For the audit procedure, we have 4 steps here. Number 1 is the offer and acceptance, which is ijab and qabul, must be orally, in written or other method that could be recognized. Number 2, the both party must enter the right contract, which is Wakalah Bil Ujrah. Step 3, the information of the product such as Shariah concept applicable, the right or obligation of the parties, and other information that related to the Wakalah Bil Ujrah will be clearly stated in the contract, and all of the information is followed the guideline of the BNM Wakalah perimeter. And lastly, the contract must be free from coercion or fraud.
Now, let's move on to the second Shariah audit. The first one is the objective. The objective is to verify the needed information provided to client is correct, comprehensive, and also straightforward. For this, audit criteria is attestation agreement. And also, there is a 4 procedure. The first one is check documentation that the customer has provided, review and verify the related information in the document, so that if there is any mistake in the document, ensure to make corrections. And the last one is make a confirmation with the customer before moving to the next step.
The third Shariah audit objective is to ensure the payment made by RHB after the delivery of goods from seller to buyer. The criteria that we've been looking for is this product follow accordingly to BNM parameter for completion of Wakalah. The procedure first is to check whether bill presented as a proof of good has been shipped. Second, check payment made upon receiving inward documentary bill for collection commission from negotiating bank. Lastly, information regarding buyer's transaction history is synchronized with bank payment towards seller.
The fourth objective is to ensure that RHB is properly valuing and reporting its TLC-i portfolio. There are 3 criteria for this objective. Firstly, compliant with accounting standard when valuing and reporting its TLC-i portfolio. Second, adequacy of internal control. And thirdly, accuracy of data and record. Next, we go to the procedure. There are 6 of it. Firstly, review of accounting policy and procedure. Second, verification of data accuracy. Third, testing of valuation methodology. Fourth, review of financial statement. Fifth, testing of internal controls. And lastly, review of third-party report.
And next, to assess whether the fee and charges related to TLC-i are in compliance with the Shariah principles and BNM Wakalah guidelines, or in other terms, if to evaluate the transparency and fairness of the fee and charges structure for the TLC-i. The criteria is the fees and charges should be reasonable and commensurate with the services provided. And the fee and charges structure should be transparent and clearly communicated or stated to the customers. So the proposed procedure for this auditing is review the fee and charges structure for the TLC-i, including any documentation provided to customers, and to evaluate the reasonableness of the fees and charges based on the services provided and compare them with industry standards. As for the conclusion, after we went through the details of RHB Islamic Bank Berhad, Transferable Letter of Credit I, TLC-i, Product Disclosure Sheet, we managed to go through a few Shariah auditing where the result was good. For example, the agreement of offer and acceptance are exactly as the guideline of BNM parameters. Besides, the information stated in the product disclosure sheet are parallel with BNM parameters.